Sonny, make sure you're home before dark, and whatever you do, stay away from the well.
Grandma nagged her granddaughter, who had just returned to the village. Okay, Grandma, you're so superstitious. Sonny replied with a helpless smile, thinking about how nothing had changed in this old village. Sonny had just graduated from a university in the provincial capital. After a failed relationship and trouble finding a job, she decided to return to her hometown for a break. The most famous thing about the village was its ancient deep well, said to be several centuries old. Growing up, she'd heard countless tales from the elders about the well ghost. They say there's something unclean in that well. If you go near it at night, it'll drag you down. Sonny had heard these warnings for over 20 years and was thoroughly tired of them. Young people these days didn't believe in such things anymore. That afternoon, Sonny was carrying 2 bags of trash to the bins at the edge of the village. All the village garbage was collected there, near the infamous old well. The well was unavoidable, sitting directly on the main path. Villagers always claimed there'd be a sudden eerie breeze when passing it. Sonny shivered at the thought. Just as she walked by, she heard a faint sound coming from deep within the well. It sounded like a child softly crying. "What the hell?" Sonny muttered. Putting the trash bags down, she mustered her courage and approached the well. Peering into the dark abyss, she saw nothing but blackness. A rancid, rotting stench wafted up, making her gag. Just then an old woman passed by. Sonny quickly called out, "Auntie, I think I just heard—"
Don't you dare talk about it.
The woman cut her off, stomping her feet nervously.
You foolish girl. Mind your own business and stay far away from that well.
With that, the old woman hurried off, leaving Sonny bewildered. What's wrong with these old folks? Always so secretive, Sonny grumbled, but her curiosity grew stronger. That afternoon, while the village council members were napping, she snuck into the records room. After rummaging through old files, she stumbled upon a stack of yellowed documents. "Oh my God," she whispered, her face paling as she read. Over the past 50 years, more than a dozen children had disappeared in the village, all linked to the well. The documents also contained an old personnel file listing her grandfather's name, Lee Dashan, well keeper. The well keeper's job was to guard the well. Grandpa was the well keeper, but why didn't he ever mention it? Sonny thought about how her grandfather had vanished mysteriously 10 years ago. This unsolved mystery had haunted her family ever since. Night fell, and the village grew silent. Lying in bed, Sonny couldn't stop thinking about the files she'd read. She glanced at her phone. 2 a.m. Everyone in the village would be fast asleep by now. I have to uncover the truth, she whispered to herself, her eyes burning with determination. She quietly got out of bed and grabbed the gear she'd prepared: a climbing rope, flashlight, toolkit, and recorder. She had bought everything earlier that afternoon while in town. Hearing her grandma's snores from the next room, Sonny tiptoed out of the house. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and darkness enveloped the village. Sonny felt her way to the well, her heart pounding as a cold wind blew past her face. She shivered, but pressed on. "Grandpa, I'll find you," she murmured, as she tied the climbing rope securely to a stone pillar by the well. Shining her flashlight into the black void, the beam seemed to vanish into the darkness. Taking a deep breath, she began her descent. The well walls were slick with moss, making every step treacherous. As she climbed deeper, strange symbols carved into the stone began to appear, some resembling ancient writing, others eerie patterns. "What are these?" she whispered, shining her flashlight closer. The symbols seemed to tell an ancient story, but before she could study them further, a sudden gust of wind from below nearly knocked her off balance. Finally, her feet touched solid ground. Swinging the flashlight around, Sonny's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't an ordinary well bottom. It was a massive underground chamber. The damp stone walls were lined with faded photographs of children, all smiling innocently. She recognized some as the missing kids from the files. Sonny moved cautiously through the chamber. Along with the photos, she found ancient ritual tools and talismans. In the far corner of the space lay a weathered wooden chest. Her hands shook as she opened it, finding a moldy notebook inside. The cover read, "Well Keeper's Diary," in her grandfather's handwriting. March 15th, 1982. Today, I officially became the well keeper. The previous keeper told me that an ancient evil is sealed within this well. To prevent it from wreaking havoc, a pure child must be sacrificed every few years. August 2nd, 1992. Another sacrifice is due. The Zhang family's boy was chosen this time. My conscience torments me every day, but for the safety of the village, I have no choice. December 31st, 2012. I can't take this anymore. The children's eyes haunt me in my dreams. But if there are no sacrifices, the thing in the well will escape. I've decided. The rest of the entry was smudged and unreadable. Tears streamed down Sunny's face. Her grandfather had carried this horrifying burden, and his disappearance was likely tied to his attempt to end the cycle. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from above. Sunny looked up and saw the village chief and several men standing at the well's edge, holding a massive stone slab. "I'm sorry, Sunny," the chief said coldly. "This is for the village." "No, let me out!" Sunny screamed, scrambling to climb the slippery walls. But the rope had been cut, and she kept falling back down. The stone slab moved slowly into place, blocking out the moonlight bit by bit. "Please, let me out!" Her cries echoed in the dark. As total darkness enveloped the chamber, faint rustling sounds began to creep closer. Sunny's entire body trembled. Her flashlight flickered weakly, casting dim light on the source of the noise. What she saw froze her in place. It was a twisted, inhuman face. Though it bore a vague resemblance to her grandfather, it was more like a demonic creature wearing his skin. "Grandpa?" she stammered. The creature let out a chilling laugh.
"I'm not your grandfather. I merely borrowed his body. Your grandfather was a fool to think he could break the cycle by sacrificing himself."
"What do you mean?" Sunny's voice quivered.
"I am the ancient spirit sealed here, a being from the chaos of antiquity. The sacrifices kept my power contained, but your grandfather's foolishness weakened the seal. His soul became my nourishment, and his flesh, my puppet."
Sunny stared at the monster in horror as the truth sank in. The missing children, the strange symbols, all of it was to maintain the seal on this evil entity. Her grandfather's defiance had only made things worse.
"And now, it's your turn, my dear granddaughter."
The creature opened its gaping maw and lunged at her.